In today's video, we'll be covering a very simple strategy that has made millions of pounds in profit for its users, and it's one that I've used myself to make over six figures. In order to understand how this strategy works, first we must go through the different type of bookmakers that are available to you. The first bookmakers that we'll talk about are soft bookmakers. Here in the UK and throughout Europe, the majority of bookmakers are soft bookmakers, the likes of Bet365, William Hill, Ladbrokes, Coral, Unibet, etc. These are bookmakers that are all looking for recreational gamblers. They don't want serious bettors. They don't want bettors who are actually looking to make a long-term profit. They are focused on marketing to recreationals, people that want to bet for entertainment, people that just want to bet for a bit of enjoyment. But overall, they're going to lose money, and in the process, the bookmakers will take money off them. When it comes to soft bookmakers, they have a few key characteristics, and the biggest one that most people complain about is the fact that they will limit winning bettors. So anyone that wins money from them in the long term will either find their stakes limited to almost nothing, or sometimes they will just close and ban your account completely. The positives of soft bookmakers are that they are much easier to beat in comparison to betting exchanges and sharp bookmakers, which I'll talk about in a minute, and they also will often give you bonuses and promotions, which, as I say, they are aimed at getting recreational bettors, and these promotions and bonuses can sometimes be used to make very, very easy profits. Now, while soft bookmakers make up the majority of bookmakers globally, there are also sharp bookmakers and betting exchanges. Now, sharp bookmakers and betting exchanges are a good alternative, as they don't ban winning bettors and they allow winning bettors to bet with them, as they work under a different model. The model for sharp bookmakers and exchanges is more based around volume, as they offer tighter margins and better odds. So they want to see more money coming through the markets, and for example, the Betfair exchange will take a 2% commission on winning bets. So they actively want to see turnover, and they are not just betting against recreational bettors and making all their profit from them. Now, this isn't just a random theory that's been thrown around on the internet. It's been proven, and people have been using this knowledge to make big profits. How then do we make a profit from this strategy? Well, it's quite simple. When something moves on a sharp bookmaker and exchanges, it will often move in sync within a couple of seconds. So let's say we have Manchester United priced at odds of 2.0 at home against Bournemouth, and it moves with Pinnacle and the exchanges, and it moves all the way to 1.92, and they give that as the fair odds. The fair odds are 1.92. Well, William Hill and Bet365, for example, may hold their odds at 1.98, 1.97, and in this situation, they are offering value at that time. Now, it has been shown that if you consistently back these prices when they are higher than the betting exchanges and higher than the sharp bookmakers, you will make money. How then do you actually find these opportunities? How do you find these value bets from dropping odds? Well, you can do it manually yourself. You can look on something like OddsChecker or Odds Portal and just look for outliers, but this is not the best way, and it's quite hard, especially when bookmakers will change their odds within 5 to 10 minutes normally. You might find on some of the earlier markets or more niche sports that bookmakers can be quite slow. It can take them hours to adjust their odds, but yeah, certainly in the bigger football games and American football, tennis, etc., you're going to find it very hard to do this. In order to use this strategy effectively, you do need to use some software. So I've just brought up some software that I use, which is Pinnacle Odds Dropper. So Pinnacle Odds Dropper is a very good piece of software, and it monitors the odds at one of the biggest sharp bookmakers in the world, Pinnacle, who are probably the sharpest for football and many other sports. And what it does is it lets you know when the odds move on Pinnacle, and then it gives you the odds that you need to beat in order to place a value bet. So this is where the no vig price is. So if we look here, I'll look at one of the bigger games that are going on today. So England versus Netherlands in the women's football is quite big, and in the moneyline market we can see that the draw went from odds of 3.77 this morning to 3.69. and the no vig odds are about 3.9. So what we can do is we can actually have a look and see what they are now. So this was an hour ago, so I imagine there has been more movement, but you can see on the right here we get a nice little graph as well. So what you can do with Pinnacle Odds Dropper is you can have a good look at everything in the market. Basically, you can have a look at all the different markets available, and you can see if you can beat any of these prices. So this is Pinnacle's price, which is 1.92 on England. So to beat the no vig price, so to make a value bet, you have to beat 1.967, so 1.97 we'll call it. The draw is 3.85 and Netherlands is 4.32. So we'll go over here on Smarkets and have a look and see if we can beat any of these prices. So this should be matched up pretty much in line with these no vig prices, as this isn't an exchange, but sometimes you do see small differences. So you can see the only difference I can see is that we can get Netherlands at 4.4. and they're suggesting that if you can beat 4.32, this is value. So just for example, if you're doing some slim value betting, you want to place this bet, you can see we can get 4.4. So we put this in, and you can see that the EV is 1.76. Okay, so this is a very small value bet. So we've gone over to Odds Portal and see if there's anything, any bigger value bets on here, and there isn't really anything. The only one which would be of interest to me would be Bet365 have 4.33, which is pretty much the same as the no vig odds with Pinnacle Odds Dropper, but you've also got the 2-up promotion, which means if Netherlands were to go 2-0 up and then not win the match, you would get paid out. So there's some value here. Pinnacle Odds Dropper is quite useful, not just for football, but you can set it up for other sports. So for example, I have dropping odds alerts on mixed martial arts, so for UFC, and also on tennis. And it also has a bet tracker as well, which is quite useful as this allows you to track all your bets. And one of the cool things is it allows you to see the EV that you logged it in. So when you're able to get better than the recommended odds, it will log the EV here. And then it also gives you the closing line value, and then obviously here is your profit and loss, and then it just calculates it all in a nice graph for you. So yeah, this is a good bit of software if you want to use this strategy. There are plenty of options if you are looking for dropping odds software, or value betting software as it is also known. I mentioned Pinnacle Odds Dropper just because you can use that anywhere in the world. It gives you a reference point for the odds that you need to beat, so it doesn't really matter about your location. You can just find bookmakers that you have available to you, but there are plenty of dropping odds software and value betting software which will actually pinpoint the odds for you, so it will tell you which bookmaker is offering value betting odds. So if you're based in America or Canada, OddsJam are very good. Bet Hero are another good one. They cover hundreds of bookmakers at this point, so they're quite a global value betting software. If you're based in the UK, you can use something like Odds Monkey is very good, TradeMate and Rebel Betting. So yeah, there's plenty of options if you're looking at using this strategy. Alright, that pretty much wraps things up. Let me know what you think about this strategy. Is it one you've used before? Have you had any success with it yourself? And I will add a link in the description to Pinnacle Odds Dropper, and I'll also put a link to an article from my site smartsportstrader.com which covers all of the best free trials available for value betting and odds dropping software.